Hey coin collectors, Dan the Collecting Man here. Today I want to go through some of the mistakes that I've made from buying gold, so that way if you're new to buying gold you have some better ideas and trying to learn from the mistakes that maybe I have or others that have made in the industry. I've been doing this for quite a few years now. I'm starting to really learn the right way and some of the wrong way of doing it. Not to say that it's always wrong, but it's just probably hasn't given me as much returns as I could have done if I had known this at the start. So I think some of the key things that I've learned at the start is buying the wrong size of gold. So paying way too much, thinking that, oh, it's really cool to buy this piece of gold here. This is a 1/2 gram piece of gold. I thought it was really cool, getting a bit of gold, and just the excitement of owning gold I thought was really cool. But buying a 1/2 gram of gold, it costs you nearly $140 to buy this, but yet the gold in here is only probably worth $70 odd, $60. So completely not worth the actual gold itself, and it will take you decades to almost get that value back if you were to ever sell it back to a bullion dealer. So one thing is to not buy too smaller pieces of gold. I think minimum a gram is about as small as I'll get. So this is this one here. You got your gram ones from the Perth Mint. If I can get that one. This 1 grammer here is a nice little small one. And you can even get 1 gram coins, which is pretty small, but this is about as small as you'd get from a gold concept, because you're more likely to actually eventually make some profits on it. Where these 1/2 grammers, or even I've got these 40th of an ounce special edition ones from the Royal Mint. These ones, it's going to take me a long time to get a return. So make sure you buy ones that are a bit bigger in size, so that way you're more likely to get some actual return on it, because you can almost buy these 1 gram coins for the similar price for the 1/2 gram ones. So it's definitely beneficial to start at a minimum at a 1 gram. Next is probably buying too much silver. So I'm a bit of a collector, and that's hence the reason the name, and I've definitely bought over the years a lot of silver. So I have so many different pieces of silver, but definitely on hindsight wish I had spent some of that money buying more bits of gold. So definitely for me, as much as I love collecting and love buying silver, and I think it's a pretty cool investment, gold has definitely shown that it's definitely the better investment in the long term. And I'm definitely having regrets buying too much silver and not enough gold. So definitely having that ratio of gold to silver, I need to fix that and work on that a bit more in the future, because I've bought little bits of gold but not the bigger pieces that I probably should have bought when I had the funds to do so in the long term. I think the next one is not having a target. So making sure that each year I now have a target of how much gold I want to get by weight. So not by value, by weight. So getting a certain amount of ounces per year. So making sure I might have a couple of these per year. And that's what I want to focus on, is how much weight do I want to add to my collection. And I might get dollar cost averaging is probably the best thing to do. So you might get a 1/10 of an ounce, which is something like this. Get one of these every month. And over a year, you've got obviously over an ounce of gold, being 12 months in the year. So getting a 1/10 of an ounce, which is roughly around $500 to $600 per month, getting something like that is a really good way to get into it. Or getting some sovereigns, which is around 1/4 of an ounce. So they're definitely key things to focus on, is making sure that you at least get a little bit of gold every month, albeit a gram to a bit more. So grams are only about $160 odd. So if you can add one of those every month, at least you're doing something to your target. But making sure you do have a target that you set out for at the start of the year. The next one I found is probably buying too many proof pieces. So I do like getting some of these special edition proof pieces of gold, and I don't mind collecting them, and I think they're a bit of fun. But when you go to sell it is the harder point, because unlike getting some of these bullion pieces that I can easily take to a bullion dealer and liquidate almost on the spot, this one here, this special sovereign, is going to be really hard for me to sell it at a reasonable price. So from a gold point of view, it's obviously 1/4 of an ounce roughly is a sovereign. So you're looking at roughly $5,000 divided by 4, roughly $1,250 worth of gold. But this is definitely worth way more than that from a collector's point of view. So to go and find someone in the market and sell this at at a reasonable price, probably about 1,500 or more, is a little bit harder. Obviously, if you sell it on eBay, then you're going to get all those extra costs that eBay like to put on everything, so you're going to lose some of that value. So then you may end up having to go Facebook Marketplace, but personally I don't trust that. So it's trying to find it, and that can take a bit of time to actually sell that. So it's not as liquid as they say to try and sell it off quickly. And I do have some of these more collecting edition pieces, and they're really good value and definitely good to own, but they're definitely going to be harder to sell in the long term. So here's another one from the Perth Mint, the Proof Edition 1/10 ounce Year of the Snake. They're really, really cool. I think the next one is also buying from the wrong dealer. So that's very important to know your dealers and to make sure you buy from the right dealer. So I'll give an example of this one. This one I ended up buying from Bullion. Now, by checking all the different websites, they were by far the best price. Even direct from the Perth Mint was more expensive than getting it from Bullion Now. So not saying that Bullion Now is the best, but for me, that's the one that I personally recommend and trust within Australia. But it's making sure you do check. And it's also on the postage. I've got other bullion dealers that I don't want to mention in this video, but some other bullion dealers where I bought some really cheap pieces of gold and silver, and they put a $50 postage charge on it. I think I bought a 1 ounce silver coin from them, and then they put a $50 postage with insurance. Now the coin itself was worth less than $50, so completely got ripped off from them, and I would never buy from them again. I've lost complete trust in the process and the way they try to help me out afterwards. So just being careful of those dealers and careful of those kind of added postages and things that they put on there to try and scalp you and get you buying from them is just a little bit dodgy. So buyers beware. Make sure you find yourself a good bullion dealer that will give you good reasonable price, and you can sell back at a reasonable price. So that's another key thing that I've heard a lot of people make mistakes, is where they buy a piece of gold like this and then they go back to a certain bullion dealer and they go, oh, these ones aren't as collectible, so we'll give you 50% of the gold value at the moment, because not many people are buying these, and they kind of scam you into thinking that it's not as much value, or they might be undercut the actual gold value at the time. So going on the Kitco website and seeing what the gold value is at the time and making sure that you should always sell back at the gold value price, unless it's something that's a bit like this, where it's a bit of gold that's not pure and it's a bit hard to define. Then you should be careful. You should always be selling it back at the gold value at minimum to a bullion dealer, especially here in Australia. Just make sure you never get ripped off, because some of them will try and undercut you so they can make better profits for themselves. Probably the other key gap that I've made and learned from is not buying secondhand gold. There's a real benefit in buying secondhand gold, because obviously when you go to buy it, you buy it at a discounted price. You're buying it for only a fraction over the actual gold value price, which means you're going to make more profit in the long term as gold goes up. And that's one thing I've definitely made the biggest mistake on, and I have the biggest regret, is not buying secondhand gold. It's also more comfortable than to sell it. So all these collector pieces, I'm less likely to want to sell it, because I had some passions around it. I really enjoy having it as part of a collection. But if I need the cash, I'm less likely going to sell this this one bar, because I really think it's cool. I think it's going to have a long-term collector's value. At the moment, it's worth roughly $5,000 in gold, but I'm never going to want to sell that because of its collectability, and I think it's going to be a long-term keeper. And that's my personal opinion, but it just means now that I've got this bit of gold that I invested in, it's going to be less likely that I want to liquidate it. So that's not the best thing to do for your collection. So yes, I'll still be buying pieces like that, but I also want to start buying secondhand gold that has no real collector's value and is just a piece of gold that I'm happy to sell back at a bullion dealer at any time I need the funds. And that's definitely by far the biggest lesson I've learned. And they're called buybacks. So if you go to a gold dealer, you ask for buybacks. So that's the one that you want. They normally have a bucket of coins and bars and things that people have come in and sold it back to them, and you can just buy it, and you can buy it at a really, really good discount price. And when you sell it back to them, no matter if it's in perfect condition like this or if it's scratched and dings, the bullion dealers are going to buy it at the same price. So that's why buybacks are by far the best value for money when it comes to gold, and the ones I would highly recommend the most out of anyone to get. Either that or some local produced little dealers as well. Sometimes they have them very, very cheap prices of gold, but definitely buybacks by far are the best to look for. And I think lastly, looking for gold that is easy to sell. So like I've got some of these really collector pieces that are going to be just harder to sell in the long term, where some of these bars and some of these other different pieces like this, they're definitely going to be easy to sell. The Lunar series from the Perth Mint is always going to have a good collector value to them. Sovereigns, as much as we pay GST on them here in Australia, they are still easy to sell. People want the sovereign, so getting an old sovereign like this one, I might pull this sovereign out. As much as this is a proof edition, but if you just had your standard bullion edition, St. George and the Dragon, doesn't matter what year it's from. The pink ones probably aren't as collectible, the pinky ones, so that's why the Royal Mint is moving to the more goldy version next year. They're getting rid of the copper versions out of the golds, but they will definitely be more collectible in the future. So sovereigns have been around for 100 plus years, and they're always going to be something that's really good to own. So I'll definitely be adding more sovereigns and secondhand gold this year as part of my collection and diversification as part of my portfolio. And if you are new to buying gold, it's definitely always a good time. Gold is also something that you can't sell quickly. So if you buy it one day, you're not looking to sell it the next day. It's something that you want to own and hold for 5 to 10 years, and then you'll see the true value of it go up over time. Probably my best example from that one is this one here, where I bought this for $99 in 2002, and it's worth, so 1/10, so gold values around $500, but from a collector's point of view, it's worth around $700. So I've definitely made some really, really good returns on that, and I'm going to keep owning it and keep for the long term. So hopefully you found this informative. Make sure you do give us a thumbs up if you like the information I provided. I do have a link down below for a shout out to buy me a coffee if you want to shout out for the channel for the work that I do. And make sure you do subscribe to Dan the Collecting Man and to keep up to date with all the fun things of coin collecting in the future. And as always, thanks so much for watching and joining the coin collecting community. I'll catch you in my next video. Dan.